Alright, Chapter 3, Light Up Locomotives. The test water level of the boiler, the examine firebox ash pan, the checks before light up the checklist, engine equipment, filling of the hydrostatic lubricator, move water over the axle boxes, westing brake pump, oiling of the engine, blowing down the boilers and cylinders to be warmed. All right, lighting chapter 3, light up the locomotive test water level in the boiler. The most important duty to perform before placing a fire in the locomotive is to test the water level in the boiler to make sure that there's ample water to cover the crown sheet of the firebox. The gauge glass should show that at least 2 inches of the water, both water gauges are to be tested open and closing of the drain cock. If the water returns smartly to both glasses, it would indicate the water level is showing true in the gauge glass. If the water does not return to the glass, it indicates that the boilers are empty and the boiler must be filled before lighting a fire in the firebox. Refer to Figure 3A and B in Annex A. It is noted that the water returns to one glass but fails to return to the other glass or returns slowly. It indicates that the water passages to the gauges is either partly or wholly blocked by requires freeing. To free the passage, first remove the nut of the bottom of the center of the water gauge column, or withdraw the ball valve, which is situated at the base of the column, the clear passage in the boiler with an L-shaped wire until the free flow of the water is assured. The ball valve nut and are then replaced and the water again tested. 3.2. Examining the firebox and ash pan. When satisfied if there's ample water in the boiler, examine the firebox to see that everything is in order. First, inspect the lead plugs to see that they are not leaking. These plugs are situated with the central line crowning sheet, one at each end and about 1 foot from the top tube plate to the back plate. Note that no water escaping from the tube plate stays within the brake arch if it's in good order. The baffle places and ring are in position. The firebox is free of clinkers and ash, and that the firebars are work freely and are corrected position locking pin of the operating lever. In good practice, before lighting up to the rock the firebars, ensure that nothing is following them. Also to feel the blow of the fire hole bent pricker to ensure that the back is not made up of kink clinkers. After the examination of the firebox has been completed, carry out the examination of ash pan dampers. The ash pan filled with the ash and clinkers, it should be emptied as the draw to the fire will be implemented with the fire bars with the danger to be being burnt. Should the dampers and defective, it will mean that when on the road regulation of the drought through the campers cannot be satisfactorily be achieved. In case of the PB-15 engine, particular care should be taken to ensure that the bridge between the front and back ash pans is clear. 3.3. Checks before light up. The following additional checks are to be made before light up. Blow down cock, scum cock, and ash ejector cocks are to be closed. Smoke box door and other openings are to be closed. Cylinder drain cocks are to be open. Regulator is to be shut off. Reversing lever is to be in sentry position. Handbrake is to be applied. All the cocks from the main steam mount are to be closed. Tender is to have sufficient water. 3.4. Lighting up seam and water cocks of the water columns must always be left open. The protector glass must be placed on the water gauge columns before the boiler is lit up. Having taken above the precautions, the engine is now ready for lighting up. First, have the supply of wood on the foot plate. Make a few light shovels full of rubble coal along with the side of the firebox. Leave the center of the grate clear. Place the piece of wood along the side of each with a couple of pieces across these two. Light the piece of the used oil waste. Will place it in the center of the firebox over the place of the small piece of the wood in crisscross manner. When the piece of the wood ignite in the other end or other heavier piece of the wood until the fire is well underway, now close the fire hole using the blind door. When placing long lengths of the wood into the firebox, care must be taken to ensure that the brake arch is not struck and damaged. To avoid stress of the boilers when lighting up, the steam should be allowed to rise gradually to a pressure of 100 psi so that the firebox tubes and boiler plates are allowed to expand equally, thus preventing leakages. A minimum of 4 hours is to be allowed from the time the fire is lit until the time the full pressure is achieved. After steam has been raised, then light of the use of the blower can be used to prevent escaping from the fire hole. Gauge glasses and the protectors are thoroughly cleaned. Steam, water, and cocks on the gauge glass. Columns are to be closed before cleaning and reopened upon completion of cleaning. 3.5. Light up checklist. Light up crews and drivers are carry out checklist inspections detailed with the checklist titled Steam Locomotive Light Up in Preparation for Traffic. Figure refer to Figure 4 in the Annex A. 3.6. Engine equipment. The engine is checked to ensure that it is equipped with a pinch bar, long or short pricker, rocking bar, and if applicable, plus a fire shovel, fire bucket coupling on each draw hook. The sandbox are to be examined to ensure that they have sufficient dry sand. 3.7. Filling the hydrostatic lubricator. The hydrostatic lubricator must be filled with cylinder oil provided when filling. The steam supply valve is checked to ensure that it is shut. The drain and filling plugs are to be opened with the fire shovel held under the drain plug, and the water is allowed to drain until the oil appears. The drain plug is closed and the cylinder oil poured poured into the lubricator from the clean oil bottle. If the quantity of oil allowed does not lubricate, if the remaining spaces is filled with water, the filling plug is then replaced and the steam supply valve and the steam valve are at the top of the condensing chamber are open. Do not attempt to refill hydrostatic lubricator with locomotive in motion. Refer to Figure 5 in Annex A. Alright, remove water from the axle boxes. Axle boxes receptacles are to be checked for water before oiling, especially after the locomotive has been stabled for a long period. Any water found is removed before the oiling. Any water is to be removed before oiling. 3. The Westinghouse brake pump. The brake pump is lubricated with the correct oil before the starting of the pump. Refer to Section 8.3. When ready, the pump is started slowly. The pump is now not to be allowed to race. The brake valve, feed valve, governor are tested to ensure that they are working correctly. All reserves are to drain, and the moisture of the brakes are tested upon the piston travel is noted. Alright, oiling of the engine. The oiling of the engine is to be done systematically, commencing finishing at the same point. All sides and rods, big ends, motion pins, and small ends of the eccentric are oiled using a small oil can, care being taken to avoid wastage. A large oil can is to be used to oil pistons, glide bar cups, and axle bars, and other oil containers. Oil cups should not be filled above the siphon pipe, although the trimmings are to be examined. All trimmings are to be examined. A few drops of the oil should be introduced with this to the axle box horn checks, compensating beams, brake shaft brackets, and bogie sentries. Corks must be replaced securely in all sides of the rods and big ends. 3.11. Blowing down the boilers. When sufficient pressure is achieved, the safety valves are checked to ensure that they are lifted at the correct pressure. The boiler is filled with 3 quarts of a glass of water, and the boiler is blowing down using both scum cock and blowing down cock. 3.12. Cylinders to be warmed. Before moving an engine which has been just lit up, the cylinders should be warmed in a small amount of steam that through a regulator with the reversing lever in the central position. The cylinder cock open. This should expel any buildup of water into the cylinders and prevent buildup in the cylinders, water in the buildup in the cylinders, and prevent condensation through chimney and damage to the cylinder covers, piston heads, etc. Chapter 4. Attending fires.